Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss about carbohydrate metabolism, and specifically we are going to discuss about the metabolic pathway of fructose. So this is the big topic that we are going to discuss today. Consumption of high fructose corn syrup (HFCS) is dangerous. In fact, many of the delicacies and yummy meals in the market contains HFCS. How HFCS impacted on the body metabolism? Before proceeding with the topic, we have to know what is HFCS. HFCS are also known as glucose fructose isoglucose and glucose fructose syrup. It is an artificial sugar or sweetener made from cornstarch. Starch are made of long chains of linked sugar, and HFCS is produced by breaking down the starch into a syrup made of sugar glucose. Manufacturers then add enzyme to the substance to convert some of the glucose into fructose, which tastes much sweeter. So, is there any difference between corn syrup and high fructose corn syrup? The difference that we can see here is that the corn syrup is 100% glucose, while HFCS has had some of its glucose converted to fructose enzymatically. But these two products are both made from cornstarch. Also, we have to know what are the sources of HFCS that we can find every day in life. The examples are soft drinks, fruit-flavored beverages, jam and syrups, frozen food, fruit canned in syrup, bread, fruit-flavored yogurt, and ketchup and barbecue sauces. The next topic we are going to discuss is metabolic pathway of fructose. Unlike glucose, fructose do not have their own breakdown pathway and so must somehow be incorporated into glycolytic pathway. Depending on what cells the fructose is in, it can be converted into a glycolytic metabolite in one of two ways. The first one is in liver cells and the second one in non-liver cells, for example intestines, kidneys, skeletal muscle, or brain. The first one, we are going to discuss about the fructose metabolism in liver cells. In the step 1, we can see that fructose is converted into fructose 1-phosphate using the enzyme fructokinase. Kinase here means that the substrate molecule fructose, in this case fructose, will be phosphorylated at carbon number 1, becoming fructose 1-phosphate, and ATP will become ADP. In the step 2, the fructose 1-phosphate will be ligated into 2 3-carbon molecules, which are dihydroxyacetone phosphate (DHAP) and glyceraldehyde using the enzyme aldolase B. Here we can see the similarities between this pathway and glycolysis pathway, which means we are on the right path. But our glyceraldehyde is missing 1-phosphate. In the step 3, we can see that glyceraldehyde become glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate using the enzyme triose kinase. As I mentioned in step 1, kinase means phosphorylate, and triose here refers to glyceraldehyde, which has 3 carbon, and the 3-carbon molecule glyceraldehyde will be phosphorylated at carbon number 3, becoming glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. The glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate will then enter the glycolysis pathway. Next, we are going to discuss about the fructose metabolism in non-liver cells. In non-liver cells, fructose can be converted into fructose 6-phosphate by hexokinase. As we can see here, hexokinase is the same enzyme we use in the first step of glycolysis. It will be converted into DHAP and GAP and then be fed into the glycolysis pathway right away. So, in step 1, we can see that fructose becomes fructose 6-phosphate using hexokinase, and ATP will be converted into ADP, and then fructose 6-phosphate will enter glycolysis pathway. The next topic is effects of fructose on body metabolism. Why HFCS is bad for us? It adds an unnatural amount of fructose to your diet, increases your risk of fatty liver disease, increases your risk of obesity and weight gain, excessive intake is linked to diabetes, can increase the risk of other serious diseases, and contains no essential nutrients. Have you ever wondered how fructose affects blood glucose level? Diabetes is a disorder affecting the way the body produces and uses insulin and how it handles blood glucose. Insulin is essential for aiding glucose transport into cells. People with type 1 diabetes do not produce insulin, whereas those with type 2 diabetes either do not produce enough insulin or cannot efficiently using insulin their bodies make. Because the fructose does not increase blood glucose and does not require insulin, individuals with diabetes can often tolerate it better than other sugars. In fact, studies shows that small amount of oral fructose may actually improve the glycemic control in people with diabetes. How fructose causes obesity? Excess body fat results when people do not balance their energy, caloric input with energy output. Some researchers have speculated that fructose may not be as satiating, which is produce feeling of fullness, as other carbohydrates, because it does not stimulate insulin and leptin secretion nor suppress ghrelin production, all hormones that helps to regulate hunger and food intake. Does fructose cause insulin resistance syndrome? Insulin resistance is a condition in which the body does not effectively use the insulin it produces. The body compensates by producing greater amounts of insulin in order to maintain normal blood glucose levels. Insulin resistance, along with obesity, hypertension, and blood lipid disorders, is part of the metabolic syndrome. Insulin resistance sometimes leads to type 2 diabetes and heart disease. Although experimental animals fed very large quantities of fructose have developed insulin resistance, feeding studies in humans have never demonstrated this effect. Excess body fat, lack of physical activity, and a genetic predisposition are thought to be the primary drivers for developing insulin resistance, not fructose consumption. At this point, maybe some of you are wondering whether consuming fructose is more dangerous than glucose or not. The researchers suggest that fructose is more harmful to a person because they are more likely to eat more than if they had eaten a food containing more glucose. However, a person should remember that food with glucose-containing sugars still have calories. Excess calories intake can lead to weight gain. That's all for today. Thank you very much and Assalamualaikum.